Yeah, this is a live interview of Back in America, a podcast exploring America's culture, values, and identity. This is a live broadcast, and it's part of a series of interviews on witches in America. Witches and Wiccans are everywhere. Your neighbor might be a witch. You can run into one at the farmer market, the organic food store, the alternative medicine section of your bookstore, and definitely at feminist rallies.
True.
For
True,
all
they
you
are
can,
everywhere.
for all you know, you could be a witch yourself.
It's
Since
true.
the 1960s, the historical stereotype of witch as the useless part of society who are scapegoated for evil crimes have been reclaimed as a feminist icon. They're in their everyday lives. American witches act just the same as everyone else. Many sell protection spells on Etsy for $15 a pop, and we'll talk about that. They
True.
post pictures of midnight Sabbath on Instagrams and live stream tarot readings on YouTube. But behind the folklores and the spells, the modern American witch is taking a stand against patriarchy. My guest, Pixie, is a witch from Salem, Massachusetts, a city perhaps best known for its infamous witch trial from the 1692 to 1693. Over the course of several trials, more than 200 locals were accused and 19 were executed for practicing witchcraft. Pixie has a job in retails and practices on most nights. Welcome to Back in America, Pixie.
Hello, Stan. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, this is inauguration day. At 12, Biden and his family are going to walk into the White House. If you were to speak to the Biden family, what kind of practice or ritual would you suggest he does before actually making the White House his new home?
Oh my goodness. I think that's a fantastic question. I would, on this historic day, I think that the ritual that I would give them is something that they've probably already started, which is the historic cleaning of the White House. Because I think the most powerful ritual of all, if you're trying to move on from something that has been harmful or negative in any way, would be to cleanse the space or clean. And his lovely assistants are helping him. I believe that they do that while he's being inaugurated. Um, so what I would say to him is maybe he can do a little cleaning just ritualistically to himself, even though he probably doesn't need to because it's so spotless when he gets there. Good question. This is a
So,
great
Pixie,
day.
I've been calling you Pixie, but what's your birth name?
Yes, my first name's Catherine, but I call myself Pixie. I've been calling myself Pixie for a little bit, and it was just uh, because I was doing readings and such, uh, and it just kind of stuck.
Okay. Any meaning behind the name?
uh, it was catchy. One, two, it sticks because I have short hair and I look like a pixie. So it's memorable. And then three, when you like do psychic readings for people, sometimes they like think that you can do fantastical things, and then they go into that delusion, and then they start getting a little bit infatuated. So just for my safety, I chose a like an artist name, and that's kind of how that evolved. It
Yeah.
was just a practical
Yeah.
purpose.
So, when a friend asks you what's witchcraft and maybe why you're a witch, what do you say?
Yeah, I try not to ramble. I suppose short answer would be, uh, it's a religion for me. It's a practice for me. Um, and also it kind of leads into my style. And that was just a natural process. And witchcraft for me is the study of like personal manifestation. Sorry, if you hear noises, it's my cat
Oh,
being
okay.
a which is a cat. So I would say for me, witchcraft is honoring the earth and then also making sure that I use my own free will to manifest what I want in my life through the process of ritual. And then that kind of leads into practice because witchcraft, they have the tools of ritual to, that's essentially their tool. So the practice of learning how to conduct ritual is very essential. It's
Okay.
a
Okay.
long, short answer. I hope that sheds some
Well, we'll
light.
come back to it, and indeed, I'm sure there are as many definitions of witchcraft as there are witches. I want to come back to the setting, the background that I see behind you in a minute, but I want to take this opportunity to welcome the viewers, to welcome Lauren P, who has sent you hearts.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
nice. Thanks,
so
Lauren.
feel free to use the comment to send us any question, and I'm sure Pixie will be glad to answer. So, what is it that we are seeing behind you, Pixie?
Yeah. Let's see here. We've got the Devil card of the tarot, which is they use symbols as archetypes to encapsulate feeling. And those feelings can kind of make an intention stronger. And an example of that is in the tarot. The tarot is a whole deck of symbols, and they all mean something very specific. And even though the devil is scary, it's more about making sure that you are working hard and making sure that your personal life is comfortable and safe for you. But yeah, and then we've got a little, let's see here.
Yeah, we can see.
A skull,
Uh-huh.
which was ethically sourced because I'm a vegetarian.
Okay.
And then there is a little ball of carnelian, and then a little offering plate, and then a statue to Hermes. My boyfriend, his patron god is Hermes, and we like Hermes is the god of message and of travel, and he is a tour guide. So that is Hermes, and then there is some. I'm like, which way?
Yeah,
Some candles right there, and then there's some books over here. Let's see, what books
they
are
look
they?
old.
They're they're Anatole France.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's my altar behind me as well. This is kind of like my little film area.
Uh-huh.
I'm just hanging out.
So let's come back to our discussion. What are the first memories of witch that you've got? Was it
Yeah,
on
that
TV,
would
on a
be
book, on a
totally
comic?
popular culture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How did that? Do you remember the first one? You
oh my
take us
goodness.
back to that memory. How old were you, maybe?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think like we would have to go all the way back to like probably there must be a witch in like a Disney movie that
Absolutely.
absolutely I would say, oh, the Black Cauldron. It's not a Disney movie, but it's an animated movie that's close to Disney. There's the witch in that one. And she does this thing where she shapeshifts from a cute little lady and she like pulls her little pigtails, and then all of a sudden she turns into this really nasty crone. that was kind of a scary thing. That kind of like stuck with me as a kid. But witches were still very interesting because like she was still cool, you know.
Yeah. Already at that stage, and when did you decide that this is something you were interested in?
I think it was just like a very natural process, mostly because witchcraft and the concepts that occur in witchcraft naturally occur in the religion that I was born in, which is Roman Catholicism. And ritual was just something that we did. And growing up, I would create rituals for snow days or to get what I want, etc. And I would already have the concept of spirit, or I would have the concept of listening to this crazy old story and trying to get some sort of message out of it. And so, like having those basics and then kind of seeing witches in popular culture, it was just very normal, as well as the concept of the Virgin Mother. I loved Mary when I was a kid. I loved her. So the concept of the goddess, like it was just a given. I was like, oh, like witchcraft, sure. Like this is just something that I've been doing.
Do you think you can be religious and a witch?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Christian witches. I am not one of them. But there are them. There are there.
Yeah.
There's there's I believe a part of the Bible that people use to cast quarters with a sword. There was
Mhm.
like a witch that I worked with who said that his mother and aunt would do that, and they lived in Michigan, and they were Christian. So
Okay.
that was something that mirrored um, the like cleansing rituals that are used by ceremonial witches. Um, so yes, long story short.
Yeah, yeah. Where did you? Where does one go to learn how to become a witch?
Yeah, the internet,
The
especially
internet,
now.
like everything else, right? You've got tutorial.
Yeah, it sounds facetious, but I would say like you have to think like a young person and go to all of the forums and go to TikTok and look up witch talk, or go to uh, Facebook and look up different witch groups. Um, there are websites that have like a whole anthology of groups, covens with their like practice listed. Um, that's available to you on the internet, as well as the fact that witches they are in most other cultural subcircles that relate to their ideology, which could be vegetarian, vegan groups online, groups about helping the environment and picking up trash.
Yeah.
Um, it's really easy to find witches, especially
So
there.
so you started online, and then you met other people with the same interest, right? In Salem. T-
Absolutely,
t-
yeah.
Talk to us
I,
about the group you're forming now.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm forming any sort of group, but I do have my friends that like we stick together and we make sure that like we try our best to represent uh, our like representation of witchcraft as best as we can in Salem. But to kind of circle back and start your question in the beginning, uh, I started off reading tons of books. I was online, and then I just read lots and lots of books related to witchcraft. There's usually books related to witchcraft in most public libraries. There's some that don't, but the public library that I was at when I was a kid had some witchcraft books. And from there, I actually found a job for at a witchcraft shop on Craigslist.
Oh,
And it was just luck and happenstance. And it was what I wanted. So when I went in there and I spoke about my interest and how I already knew about witchcraft, they definitely welcomed me in. And then I worked at a witch shop in Salem for 3 years, and I kind of was the assistant manager of that space. And then I was the manager of a witch shop down in kind of the Fall River area for a year. And now I'm kind of taking a break from doing the witch shop thing. But in that short time, the amount of knowledge that you could glean from readers that were hired in that business, we usually practiced all different types of witchcraft. It was exponential and a really nourishing moment for me. And I was welcomed into groups where I could practice publicly rituals in an educational way. I learned quite a lot from it. So here we are now. And I do videos online with my friends who also are practicing witches, who do tours about witchcraft in the area. And yeah.
would you say that some practitioners are more talented than others? And how would you define that if it were the case?
Yeah, I would say talented may not be the word. Maybe a more accurate term could be knowledgeable or more well-read, mostly because you have to have the knowledge of witchcraft and history as a whole, excuse me, and be proficient in such to actually be someone who is masterful in witchcraft. Somebody who considers themselves really, really good at witchcraft, I would make a red flag in my mind, because the climbing and mentality when something is so esoteric is very dangerous. Yeah. So
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. So I read that witchcraft became extremely popular after the election of Donald Trump. Why would you say so?
That's awesome. I would say that the reason could just be a feeling of helplessness. I find that a lot of people turn to methods like that when they feel like they need an answer to something, or they want something to happen and they're too far away for something to happen. So there's when I was working, all of the orange satin bags were sold out of Salem because everyone was buying orange satin bags to do charms of protection against Donald Trump. And they picked orange because he's orange. So,
Right.
so I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, it could be one, the rise of witchcraft again in popular culture. Two, quarantine. Everyone's in their homes watching Sabrina on Netflix. And then three, they feel helpless, and I feel like it's a very human and very selfish act, but in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. I've also read that feminism, and it seems obvious, but I would love to hear you about that. Feminism and witchcraft goes together. How did you experience that, and would you agree with that?
Yeah, from the very beginning, witchcraft has always been inherently a feminist act. When Wicca touched America, even though there was that binary, the strong binary that you see of goddess and god, and even though there was that center around sexual nature that now we do not consider feminist, at that time it was extremely feminist. And moving forward, witchcraft has evolved as such to fit our feminist ideals. There is a vein of witchcraft going through New York that welcomes trans people, non-binary people, and queer people. So there is that. And then also I'm finding that young witches on TikTok, they do not want to associate with Wicca whatsoever. And they're more empowered with esoteric witchcraft because of how gender fluid they feel as a generation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, witchcraft since the beginning, even since prior to when it touched America, was an inherently feminist act.
Yeah. So you talk about the young generation welcoming gender fluid people. Doing some research, I went through your Instagram and I found one of your old posts where you were saying, "Sorry, I can't attend mass. I'm busy practicing witchcraft and becoming a lesbian." Talk to us about that.
Yeah. I love that. That was from like, I looked, oh man, let me think. I'm pretty sure that's when I graduated high school.
Wow.
That was, oh my goodness, 2014. That's awesome. You do your research, Stan. That's great. Let's see. I honestly, I've identified as like a pansexual person for a very long time. But when you first come out as queer, you feel, well, sometimes some people might relate to this as well. You feel as though you have to take a very strong stand and name yourself something very strongly because you just identified this feeling. So in the beginning of being out, when I was just coming out of high school, I felt like, wow, I like women. Women are beautiful. So I must be a lesbian and I'm gonna be a proud one. So I'm gonna do that. And then also, I was always talking about witchcraft, even when I was in high school and Catholic school. They were just like, she's weird. Get away from her.
Yeah. Did you feel that people were actually looking at you as being one of the weirdos out there? Or were you sort of popular because you were so different?
um, I would say that like I was picked on, but when I tell my boyfriend what I was like in high school, he's starting to convince me that I was the bully and that I thought that everyone was being mean to me, which I hope that's not the case.
Hmm.
I was just very sensitive as a child, and I loved witchcraft. We had a like a world religions class. Our junior or senior year of high school. This was a Catholic institution. and we could pick a religion that we could study and do a project on, and I picked Wicca. So everyone didn't really react in a very adverse way, but they thought that I was weird anyway.
What about today? Do you still have people looking at you in a weird way?
Yeah, I love it. I don't mind it now. I go into Target with my boyfriend in like a cape, and like people look at us like, what's happening? But it's okay. We're just there for like an air fryer. We're just living our witchy life, and we just like to dress weird, and like it just makes our day a little bit more interesting. And then like in Salem, when you're walking down the center of Salem, people don't really look at you that much because they're used to weird things. They're used to seeing a zombie walk down the street, or a really, really tall, scary demon on stilts. So seeing me in a funny little outfit isn't that shocking in the center of Salem. But once you go out of that immediate radius, you can get them.
Sure. So you talk about demons. Let's talk about Satanism. What is it, and do you practice it?
I do. It is a religion. It is a non-theistic religion, and it is a religion of science. It follows 7 basic tenets, which are like moral goals, per se, that you follow. One of which being that you must follow and understand that science is right. I'm saying this in layman's terms. They say it very eloquently, but one of which is make sure that you're in accordance with science and reason. Another one is that your body is your own, and it is of your own will alone. So that is just 2 of the 7. With that in mind, Satanism and the idea of it, the sound of it, now that I told you those 2 tenets, it's not really that scary. But it's a really lovely way for me to have a more, I would say, it sounds kind of cheeky, but like agnostic view on witchcraft. You know what I mean?
Okay, explain that.
Yeah, for me, I don't believe that like the spirit of Hermes. I don't believe that like he's a guy with wings that is gonna come down and be like, "Thank you, Catherine," and be like, zip away. You know, I see Hermes, and I am like, he is the archetype of this. And then I can focus on that energy and focus on that idea, so I can kind of like, so I can honor the idea of Hermes, or the spirit of Hermes. So when I say like a more agnostic view, that's just kind of like a cheeky way of me saying that.
Okay.
I hope you understand.
You make it sounds very sort of scientific and ritualistic and not scary at all. And yet people are afraid of demons and being possessed and calling up bad spirit when they do Ouija boards. Is that something in which you believe?
Yeah, I've seen that so much.
What did you see?
Well, sorry. To be more specific, I've seen people think that they are cursed a lot, and it saddens me because they're lost and they're sad, and they really think that they're cursed, and I don't want them to think that. and like they come into witchcraft shops, and they're crying and they're saying, oh, these terrible things have happened to me. And when you give them the time and you listen to them and you listen to why they think that they're cursed, it's usually just very normal things, but things that they just feel like they can't control, and they don't have the skills to deal with things that they can't control. Like a teen daughter that goes on YouTube who seems a little on edge, or you're a guy and you're down on your luck, and everywhere you turn, something bad happens. You get sent to jail, you come back out, you lose your wife. Like, those are the types of people that come in and will say, I'm cursed. And then you have to be like, no, you're not. But in a way that doesn't put them down, you know?
And yet you will sell spells, maybe to help them.
Yeah.
So why would a spell works in one way and not in the other way?
Yeah, I try really hard to let a person know that a spell is not going to do all the work. You know, I really hope that everybody else does that too, and I'm pretty sure they do, because I did learn this from an older witch, and basically, it is the tool for you to get what you need, but you have to put the work out there. My best example, it makes people laugh, so I like to tell it, is if you're going to do a love spell or to get a new person, and you are like, I need to meet the next new person, and you like light this candle and you write out all the things that you want in a person, you tuck it under that candle, you imagine that person coming to you. That is a ritual. But then the one thing this person does wrong is what? They lock the door and they watch Netflix and they never go out. And then 2 weeks later, they come in to me and they say, my spell didn't work. Well, why? Because you didn't go out, because you didn't do the work. You did the thinking part of it, but you didn't do the acting part of it. And that translates into every part of your life. So why wouldn't it translate into your spiritual work? You know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. So you don't believe that, a demon can enter a room if you do Ouija board, for example?
I don't.
Okay.
I would get a lot of, I'm gonna get a lot of crap with that, I know, because I know a lot of people who really, truly, in their heart of heart, believe that is so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I feel as though if you focus on neutralizing any sort of feeling and energy, no matter how negative, and you just work on neutralizing and bringing positivity, that's a concept that is not possible, because there are people that go throughout their entire lives and don't think of the concept of a demon ever, and they don't even know what that is. But then some people in other subcultures, it encompasses their entire life. And while I have had experiences, supernatural ones, that I feel like I can't personally explain with reason, I don't want to encourage hysteria in any way by spreading stories of such. So if a person feels like they have like something terrible entered the room or something like that, I would just say, take a deep breath. There's no such thing. If you feel like that, go and get a breath of fresh air. Maybe you're feeling that because the house is old and you're actually feeling good feelings, but you're just really nervous. So you're resisting and you're feeling like this is a negative feeling.
Mhm.
Like, and I've said that to people who've come into witchcraft shops that are very old, and they want to have a medium experience. They literally went into the room and they go, "Oh my goodness, I felt something. There's something here." You can't encourage that. Why? Because if you do, they'll be walking around the room with their dowsing rods for the entire day. Uh, so you have to be like, I totally understand. Thank you so much. This is a very powerful place. It's probably because it's so old. But there's nothing that you have to worry about.
Mhm.
And then they feel fine because there really isn't.
So you mentioned an experience or experiences you had. What were there?
Just uh, like moments of like, there was, okay, kind of silly. That I was like closing one of the witchcraft shop, and I was alone in the space, and all the doors were locked, and there was nobody there but me. And there was a large sword that we use for creating sacred space and cleansing space. And it was attached to the wall. And I was walking towards the front of the shop, and the sword was to my back on the wall facing me. And I like was walking towards the shop, and I hear like a little click clink noise, and I like look back, and the sword was off of the wall, and it was facing my heels, like point to heel. And I mean, like, it scared the crap out of me, but like, I'm not gonna try to make reason of it in my mind ever,
Wow.
you know?
Did you try to explain that?
No, no, I'm not gonna try.
No,
I just laugh because, like, I
that
don't
never
know.
happened again.
No,
No.
no.
Okay, so we'll let it be.
Yeah,
Coming back to
totally.
feminism and witches, how do you feel? And you say your boyfriend is, also a witch. Can a boyfriend be a witch? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do people, or how do witches feel about having men around them?
Yeah, like, it's very important. I mean, sometimes some witches don't need that, and that's awesome. And like, I just honestly, if I went back 4 years ago and I told myself that I was gonna be like best friends with this person who is like a little bit like more masculine and is a guy, I would have been like, ew, no. Like, because like I lived in a house of 11 girls.
Hmm.
So it was definitely a different transition. But Thomas, he's not like this jock guy that's like pumping iron and watching football. He's he is like this pretty boy with long hair, and he's very smart because he's a tour guide in Salem, and he has a tour called Satanic Salem Walking Tours. So he's a tour guide for the Satanic Temple. So he's just a very smart guy, and we relate in that way. So it's definitely a relationship that is um, it encourages growth on an educational level and a spiritual level too, because we do rituals together all the time to manifest things. Like, that's how we got together, was a ritual that we did on TV.
Okay. All right. So men's are okay, but not any type of man, obviously. I mean, it remains a domain for feminist and for women, right? It's sort of your sacred space in a way. Witchcraft.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We are getting at the end of these interviews. I've always asked a question, and it might not be very relevant to the topic we are talking about today, and yet maybe, because indeed witchcraft have been more popular in the US in recent years, and you guys are taking a stand for women, and in a way stand for politics or a different kind of vision of the world. What would you say America is to you?
And that is such a fantastic question to ask today of all days. So thank you for asking me. America is where I have always grown up. It is my birthplace. And I am optimistic that we can look forward to striving to the constant pursuit of justice. And that is something that we should all strive to do. And that is also a tenet, and a very important tenet in the beliefs of the Satanic Temple. So I feel as though America, to me, is the constant pursuit of justice.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you would like to say or to add? Any spell you would like to do before we split?
Thanks for having me, Stan. Hail Satan.
All right. Thank you, Pixie. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.